Tulip Siddiq.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My constituent, Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe, has now been in prison for 3.5 years, during which she's been in solitary confinement, she's been chained to her bed and shackled, she's been through depression, she's been suicidal, she's been on hunger strike, and they found lumps on her breast. And amongst all of this, one of her biggest traumas is the changing fortunes of her fellow prisoners. Prisoners will come in, she will become close to them, and they will leave and go home, but she remains in prison. And one such case is that of Jolie King, an Australian-British passenger who was travelling in Iran, and while she was flying a drone, she was accused of spying, even though she was actually using that drone to take selfies with her fellow traveller. Now, Nazanin was sharing a cell with Jolie, and she slept in the bunk above her. Jolie was released from prison 3 months after she was caught on Saturday, 5th October. And the ministers in Australia said that the government held very confidential negotiations and very sensitive negotiations with Iran to ensure that she was released and her treatment when she was in detention. Now, Nazanin has said to her husband Richard, who is watching from the gallery today, that of course she celebrates Jolie's freedom, but that she wants to know why her government, the British government, is not doing the same to get her out of prison. And during this time, when the trauma is going on, the family are having to make a decision that no family should have to make, which is where the 5-year-old daughter, Gabriella, will go. Will she remain in Iran to be near her mother, or will she come back to London to be with her father, who she can no longer communicate with because she has lost the ability to speak English, having spent most of her life in Iran? Bearing that in mind, I have a few questions for the Minister. I am aware that no two consular cases are identical, but can the Minister explain to me how the Australian government has been able to achieve such rapid progress for another British national, whereas Nazanin still remains in jail 3.5 years later? My second question is, in recent weeks, as the Minister and the House will know, there have been notable developments in British-Iranian relations. The first, the release of seized oil tankers, and the second, a £1.2 billion payment made from the Treasury to a private Iranian bank. Has the government at any point threatened to withhold such enormous sums of money unless Iran releases imprisoned British nationals? Number 3, if Gabriella does return to the UK, can the Foreign Secretary assure me that the Foreign Office will provide security for her while she's travelling from Iran and when she comes to the UK? And finally, with the prospect of Gabriella returning to the UK, I am enormously concerned about Nazanin's well-being. Will the Foreign Secretary update me on how the FCO will step up its effort to provide full consular support for Nazanin in this case? And Madam Deputy Speaker, if I could just indulge me for 1 minute. I am here for the 4th time in front of this House asking about Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe because I am genuinely concerned about my constituents' well-being. And I want the Prime Minister and ministers of his government to be able to look in the mirror in years to come and say that they did everything possible to ensure that my constituent did not die in prison in Iran and that they brought her back home.